I want us to get into the conversation with telcos, seeing the data you shared around the sectors and the growth there. I know, for example, if you look at your investments in a telco, just looking at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and you just look at the growth, they're one of the largest, if not the largest aggregators of consumers right now. And the services we currently get from them are important for any economy to grow or any economy to sustain its growth. So, but at the same time, that industry seems like one part of the puzzle that the average guy on the street might not be paying attention to. And it might also seem that even at a business level, there are opportunities that people are not looking at. So I think this is a good time to have Kayode talk to us about the industry. Telco. Kayode, can you do that for us now? So the telecoms, yeah.
Thank you very much, Fumi. Hi, everyone, once again. Thank you, Tolu, for that very insightful introduction. So when you look at telco industry in Nigeria, from an industry life cycle perspective, you know, it's one that is also quite mature, and I think maybe next to the banking industry, it's one of the most mature, you know. And I think for me, to your point, I don't think people are not mindful. I mean, even if you want to invest as a retail investor in stocks and shares, you know, one of the listed ones, you know, I think the shares come at a very high premium right now. So the narrative around telco is that, you know, it's a bit capital intensive, not a bit actually, it is very capital intensive. When you look at that industry as somewhere you want to play as an entrepreneur, you know, you need to have deep pockets and there's just no beating around that bush, right? So we can just use that as a segue into the conversation, right? It has grown over the years, and definitely there are opportunities. Now, you want to come in to telco sector, I don't think anybody will give you any advice to come in and try and take any of the well-established MNOs. But there are, I mean, if you look at the value chain or the ecosystem, there are a lot of layers where people can play. Not less capital intensive, really, but you look hard, you look deep, you find opportunities. So, I mean, you may not come in as a tower co, fiber co, you know, maybe you're looking at the you know, the ICT provider space, and the people do a lot of things there where you're partnering with somebody that has infrastructure already to probably run fiber to some estate or enclave that you have a good relationship with, and you can make some decent amount from this kind of investment. You know, other than that, you're probably looking at well-established, lots of players from the get-go, but yet everyday opportunities. I still imagine being a trade partner, you know, reseller of some of the vouchers or services, right? Even selling devices can be quite lucrative, you know, if you find a good space to play in there. But other than that, it's not all bad news, right? It will interest, you know, our listeners to know that there is actually a draft policy on localization. And now this ties into the theme of this program, you know, in an inflationary environment, you find out that nobody's immune. Even the businesses you think are doing quite well, everybody's trying to localize costs. There's a lot of cost, you know, and FX liquidity is an issue. There's a lot of cost in foreign currency. And I mean, we're no strangers to that conversation. Everybody has been tracking the drama around the devaluation of the Naira recently. And so every business is trying to, you know, localize expenses that are, you know, based in foreign currency. And that, I believe, is one very big area where, you know, it's going to throw a lot of doors of opportunity open, because in any scenario, in any way you can approach you know, a telco, any player in that industry, to say, look, I can offer you this service or this product in Naira, and you know, you're telling them you can do it, and you actually can do it, and they're seeing that it's going to cost them less than they currently spend, you know, equal quality, you know, equal utility from whatever it is you're providing there. That's value automatically, and I think we're happy to listen to you. So I'll just talk a little bit about that policy. Like I said, it's a draft one. It was drafted by the National Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. And it's just basically 4 pillars. It talks about manufacturing, people, software and services, and then R&D. When you look at the people, it's pretty much just talking about, how many people are employed and this kind of thing. So that's not an employment opportunity. And I wouldn't want us to put too much into R&D, but we can focus on the manufacturing bit and the services and software. I think those are very good opportunity areas. Now, when you look at those two for manufacturing, we can look at it in terms of devices and equipment. We all use mobile devices. But if we look at in terms of the operations for telcos, and anybody in that space, whether it's a major operator or someone else like an ICT provider, they all use some common devices like routers and dongles and etc. Now, we may not have all the capacity, but I believe if you borrow from some other industries like power, when I was there, we have in the local players who manufacture, as it were, but really, even if it's just assembling, you are, remember what I said earlier, you're providing value, you're going to offer products in local currency, and that's automatic value. You can, there's always going to be a dollar component there, but at least you're reducing it because you're going to locally and manufacture the enclosures and those kind of things, and then assemble the circuit boards and some of the other things that you have to import. So that I think that's an area. It's not going to be cheap, I'll be honest, but it's still an area where people can explore. Related to that is equipment. Same thing. External enclosures for network cabinets. Some of this equipment that are out there on the sites. For those of you that have seen some of these sites up close, those things have to be imported wholesale. Some of those cabinets and enclosures can be manufactured locally, and by doing that, you're creating value, like I said, and I'm sure the players in the industry will be happy to listen to you. You don't even need to be. I don't personally think you need to even do it in conjunction with an OEM. As long as you can prove to the guys here on ground that, look, this thing is going to be compatible with your with whoever you're using, just ask them to put their software on it. Then I think there's a interesting proposition on the table. And then talking about services and software services, really around maintenance. There are a lot of maintenance contracts, and you find out that operators and players enter into these contracts with what you call them, OEMs, right? But these guys hire local guys to provide that service. But of course, they're still billing in FX. So if you can get certified, as a service, to provide all those service and maintenance activities, then definitely, they'll be happy to listen to you and enter into an agreement with you. I think I've been talking for a bit fast. So I just want to pause to see if there are any questions, and then we'll talk about the software bit. So just check for me, see if there are any comments or questions so far, or
okay,
I'll just go to.
Yeah, okay, I think you can go on. I don't have questions yet, but once they come in, I'll let you finish, and then I'll ask everything at once. Is that okay?
Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much. So lastly, software. I think that's a very big area. We Tolulope, I think, mentioned, or you did mention fintech. We've seen that in the recent times. The developers, the software developers and coders locally are doing big things and competing well on a global stage. And I don't think that should go to waste, even when it comes to a sector like telco, right? There's a lot of software that are used today in the IT and network aspect of that industry that can be localized, right? There's opportunity for local players to step up and say, look, we can do this, and you're gonna get the same quality and service out of it. And there are a few examples. You can look up a company called Simfix and CWG. They're already doing big things, but I can assure you that there's still ample opportunity. I forgot to mention this earlier when I was just doing like a small rundown of the policy. Alton, which is the Association of Local Licensed Telco Operators, did some estimation while we were having the preliminary engagement on this policy, and they estimated that annually it's about $2.1 billion that flows out of that sector, as payment. So just look at it. Any small value you can capture there will be beneficial. And I think I have it somewhere here. I'll just take a quick peek at it. If you look at the software component, it's also quite huge, right? Just give me a second. I'm bringing it up. So I'm not going to share the screen. Don't worry. I just wanted to give you, an estimation. So the point is, right, it's something that, there's a huge opportunity there, right, in terms of being able to capture. So I have about, 800 million. That's from out and from management fees, network and software about 250 million. These are all in dollars. So, managed services of 157 million. So CapEx, which speaks to the equipment, about 700. So, I'm just saying that's a huge opportunity. I mean, nobody expects that entire amount will be captured immediately, but as government support and, initiatives are being rolled out, anybody who's keen on, capturing some of that value can, I think, definitely take advantage. So I think for me, that's pretty much the rundown in terms of how to view the opportunities in the telco sector as it is currently. And I'm happy to take questions and, provide a few insights as we go along. Thank you for me.
Okay, thank you so much for that quick recap, Kay. So I already have a question for you. You talked about the opportunities that exist in the value chain. And the first question on my mind is, what sort of CapEx are we looking at? So the 4 pillars exist now, beautiful. There was a lot of focus on manufacturing. I know the people, I was also going to ask questions about, so the people, what kind of training or expertise are required now that might be lacking in there? Because I could as well just say that I want to start some sort of small school where I train labor force and push them as pipeline into the telco. So, but let's just look at the value chain and say the opportunities there. Which one can the average guy consider doing? Which one can you partner with, say an HNI, and get done, in your own opinion?
So I'm sure to look at speak a bit more to this. Yeah, you can always put together some funding, right? And it's not everything that is, it's big money, right? But it's, like I said, there it's a you have a kind of like a graduation scale. So it's not that, when you want to for comparison, right? So you want to roll out a full telco network, we're talking of billions of dollars, right? You want to do tower co, very expensive. You want to do fiber, millions of dollars. So I'm just saying it's gradual. None is that small. So all the way down to, like I said, assemblage, fabrication, and those things. It's not cheap, but I don't think it's also numbers that are quite scary, right? So it's something I think that a positive business case can be put together as long as you identify the areas, right? And when you look at the people you want to serve, I don't think that they're not looking to sign small contracts. The contracts are going to run into huge numbers as well. So I think at the end of the day, if you can just demonstrate value and capacity and say, look, we can do this, somebody at least will be willing to listen to you, maybe even do a POC before committing, but definitely there's an opportunity. You talked about training. That's a very interesting and important aspect. The only challenge there is that I think, I'd mentioned software. Look, you need to get trained, right? But I think it's something you acquire that capacity or capability on your own, and then you come and sell the value. So I think that's the onus is on who wants to do the business. But in terms of also the knowledge transfer that needs to happen internally to reduce that, foreign FX exposure, I think most of it will come from the knowledge exchange directly with the OEMs. To be honest, I'm not sure any third party can come and say, hey, I want to make sure your staff can run this software or this equipment on their own. It has to be the OEM that does that. So they unfortunately might still capture some of the value there. But for things that look, you don't really need anything from them. Even the services, you can acquire the skill. We're just going to tell them, look, I want to be your local partner here, because they're also aware that everybody's looking. It's becoming increasingly difficult to enforce or push those your contracts that are in dollars. So you can probably have delayed invoice and all those things. So they'll be happy to work with a local partner who can do the job, can get the payments, and then give them some royalty or whatever else it is that you agree with them. So I don't know if I answered your question as well for me.
Okay, no, you did. And I was going to go back to Tolu because he said I should go back to him. So Tolu, I have a fantastic idea. I have a POC already. How do I get started? At least with your experience with SMEs, I'm sure you already have good insight into how to get started.
Yes, thanks. I mean, once you have your proof of concept sorted and you're confident in the scale of the opportunity, what's important is that you put together documents that helps you convince other people of the scope of the opportunity. I think, people, SMEs generally live in this bubble of, the idea is fantastic. I'm sure it's fantastic. They see the value pool, right? And we all see the value pool, right? It's just that we all know that operating any value pool takes some kind of skill set, takes some kind of effort. You have to think through it. So developing bankable business plans and financial models that gives you, so if somebody gives you 5 minutes, you put the business plan and the financial model in front of somebody, of an investor, you can convince them and say, this is the money, this is how I make money, right? And so I guess that's although, and it's surprisingly enough, from what we've seen, people don't have, a lot of SMEs don't have that discipline. They have, they know that we can make money, let's just go and make money, but if you don't put all of these things down, you won't have a total picture. Not like you can never have a total picture. When you get into field, typically you face some challenges, but at least the risks that are manageable, you would have identified them, you would have put in place mitigants, and then when other risks show up, then you decide, okay, these are how I navigate it. When pilots fly, you have to use it with an analogy of a pilot. When pilots fly, they don't know at times that there will be turbulence in some places, right? But they don't fly blind. They fly with their eyes open, with a full map of, okay, this is how we navigate it. When we take off, we go this way, we go this way, we go this way. When they get to a certain place and then there's turbulence, then they navigate it. It's exactly with pursuing these kind of opportunities. Draw up your flight map. When you face challenges, you navigate. But flying blind, I think, is what you don't want to do. So that's first one. And then from there, you could take that business plan to different category of investors. There are investors who would fund early stage businesses. Just show them their concepts. There are grants that they will just give to you. Even if for the proof of concept, there are grants that people give to you that, okay, you want to prove a concept, take these funds, use it to prove it. Just show us your progress, right? Then there are, of course, more commercial funding, the venture capital, the private equity guys who expect you to make money and deliver returns. And then there's the bank loans, where banks will look at how will I collect my interest. Is the interest, banks want to make money too, so they will want to, once you show them that there's money, they will play. The difficulty is when you yourself, you don't know how you make money. And how do you convince somebody to put their own money and deposit money down to make money? So I think that's sums up that process that it takes to from ideation and from proof of concept to actually bringing the business out live. Thank you.
So just to pull it further in, so I've done the ideation, I've done the business plan. I need to, of course, build some sort of list of investors that I have to go after. Based on your industry knowledge, I know there are a few agencies, government parastatals that I can actually even start with because they have the opportunities available to the masses. Do you want to just mention a few that are the popular ones that one can just consider to go to?
So,
and then I'll come to K.
Okay.
So once you're done, I'm going to go to K. Yeah.
Okay. So we do know today that the central bank has all of these intervention funds, just sitting down in somewhere in some banks, right? The Bank of Industry has fantastic packages that I'm aware of, that I know very well. I know that even NEPC Nigeria Export Pro. So some of these things are sector based, right? So NEPC, I'm very sure, gave grants recently to some category of, do you understand? So it depends on what you want to do, how you want to approach it. But CBN, NEPC, BO who else? So, there are other institutions. I think I can't recall now, but if I do recall, I would probably just drop them in the chat box. But yes, there are government agencies that help you to raise.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. So if you remember any, just drop, especially private sector too. I think that'll be good. It's okay.
Yes, thank you for me. Thank you very much too. And it's just to buttress to those points. Some of the conversations that you also hear alongside, this policy that I mentioned, are things around, free trade zones, right? And it's just to add that there is a lot of support you can get. So if you're talking to, you talked about, you've done a POC, if you're talking to a partner in China, for example, and, to say, look, guys, let's bring this manufacturing here. This is one of the things you can use to sweeten the deal, because we all know what comes with free trade zones. A lot of incentives, tax incentives, getting access to that land for free, infrastructure. And then again, part of the way to look at it too is, even looking beyond the Nigerian, telco market. If you go into these things, you can go into it with a mind that whatever you're doing is to also establish it as some kind of regional, hub for providing those services. So you're not looking at just the Nigerian or those equipment or devices. You're not just looking at the Nigerian market, but you're looking at the whole West African region. I think just to bring that up, that perspective as well can make it look less daunting, when you think about, oh, I want to play in this space. I just wanted to add that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you so much for that. Now,